And the same thing goes for the second grant that they received, when Gene was here, and it was for the extrication tools. We owe 10%, I assume, on those tools too, so we have to encumber those.
There's a line for the extrication too, but that's line 85 or 211-230-599-0316. There's no money in there right now, but there's money saved to move over in there. Because they don't allocate 100% of the budget.
But you have to show AFG that if they audit us, they have to see that you encumbered that 10%. It's required. On the award letter that was signed by Mr. McIntyre, it says you have to prove at any inspection time that you encumbered that money and it's not spent or allocated in another fund. So we're gonna have to put figures in for those two items. So we
What
don't.
was the other one?
It would, the one was the extrication tools, which is what you pointed out, which is
85.
line item 85, but the bigger one is going to be a larger amount, which is for the new medic. The brand new ambulance that the township received. And I don't know if that was 83. That's what's meant by line item 83, but it's got 0 in it too. So we're going to have to put real numbers in those categories and encumber that money in the budget so it's there when your match comes up. So when you, for instance, your past AFG grants, and if you look at them from the hose to the air, extract the
Airbags.
no, the air system, the exhaust system, the air filling station, fresh air filling station, the gear, all that was encumbered in the budget per line item based on your match. So if the match is 10% and say the medic's 200,000, you have to put 20 grand of your reserve money there so you can expend it out of there. It can't be mixed in at another account because it's a federal grant and they have to follow that grant. So we're gonna have to put numbers in for the extrication tools and the medics.
Well, I'm thinking that you can't you use your capital fund?
Well, you could pull it from there, but they
Yeah,
have to be line item out according to
I'm
AFG.
saying you can line item out, but you can't move that money from that capital fund to.
Probably not because they were locked up according to,
So they have to create a new line item in that fund in order to use that. So we'd have to, you know what I'm saying?
yeah, I follow with what you're saying. Do you chiefs follow what we're saying?
Yeah.
So you're gonna have to encumber 10% in line item 83 of what your projected medic cost will be, total cost. Or, you know,
How come the 83 doesn't show money last year for the things you mentioned? That they should have had money held back. How come it was 0 last year when we had?
right, and here's the problem.
Okay.
Last meeting I had you guys adopt the money that was given to you this year. You had your staff signing all the AFG acceptances and not following what it said in the regulation. And the regulation, according to Mickey Smith, is you have to encumber the money owed to the federal government for your match on any federal grants you get.
That makes sense. Okay.
So
wouldn't
we
do
can't
it.
go backwards, but we can go forward. We're doing it the right
Did we have
way.
an extrication tool last year?
No,
That's why that
There
wasn't
was
in there.
0 in no medic
Yeah.
grant last
The
year.
that's why that was 0 last year.
and it's probably in there as a requirement because if you got a community that, you know, and we struggle money-wise, but we have a little more than others, they come to get their 10% and it's not there. And they say, well, it's over here. Well, that over here may already been loaned out on another purchase, and so the federal government requires the paper trail showing your budget has every 10% match, or if it's 5% or whatever it is. So these are the fixes we have to put into the budget now. Now, if you've got an encumbered chief somewhere else under purchasing or whatever, you can just reallocate it to that account while you're doing this.
No, we don't have.
So we're gonna have to figure out what those numbers are.
I've got the numbers.
Well, what is line 81? 5% AFG, and there's 70,500 sitting there.
I don't know. I didn't make this budget one part of the budget meeting.
Could this be the anticipation of the grants we're going after for next year?
It could. Now, your medical will be roughly 200,000, so that's 20 grand. alone, your
I'm
extrication.
talking about the brand new grants he's going after, the MDTs.
Oh, no, no one knows what that figure is because we haven't reported it to Mickey yet. So we don't know what our 10% match will be on the 2020 application for 21. So I don't know what that 17.5 is. But if it's not allocated to anything, that can go down and help with assigning those other two categories. Your extrication tools might be about 65,000, I believe, roughly. 10% of that,
68.
68. So, you know, so you have to encumber 6,800 for that grant,
68,000.
and then
68.
whatever your medic's gonna cost you. You have to do 10%.
180.
So if you go 180, then you only need 18,000. So between those two, you need 26.5. With that 17.5 is some of it, great. You just gotta come up with the rest of it, you know, either just put it in there to lower your overall balance, or find it from one of the other categories that you guys have allocated already.
Well, on the first page, that 9,220, that already means that we're not that much over in the budget, over what we got coming in, projected coming in, correct? And then we've got to,
No, that is the revenue, I mean, it's red. So that means that we're in the negative, that we're spending more than what we got in the revenue.
right, right.
So in other words, if you were to leave this alone, you'd be dipping into the reserves, which is a rollover from the year before, or leftover from the year
Well,
before.
we're estimating, if you look at this as carryover, we're estimating 300,000, but we don't know if it's even gonna be near that. And the fact it was last year, and we still haven't finished this year out. The estimate right now is 300,000.
That
Carryover.
makes sense.
So if we go less, we're gonna be even more in the red.
Ouch. Okay.
Well, we have to fix at least that line item with money from somewhere else, so we allocate to it correct. Then the second question is, if you would go for the MDTs, as the County Chief Wilcox just mentioned, you have to encumber your 10% match for that as well, and create a line item for that grant.
The MDT, the mobile device?
Yes.
Oh,
Mobile data terminal.
So that's a third line, right? You said a medic and you said an extrication?
Right. And those have already been awarded to and accepted by the Battalion Chief McInturf without a vote of the trustees, so you're obligated to use it. You have to buy the medic and you have to buy the electric tools, so we have to put the money in the budget. The MDTs is for this year's application to be awarded next year. And the only thing roughly that you're eligible for is the MDTs as of now, according to our grant writer. So,
You mean for next year or just period?
well, I'll just say for next year, because the government's probably going, with COVID and everything, who knows what they're going to change the criteria to next year. But as of today, that's all the whole department can apply for. So there's different options out there. Chief and I and BC has been working on quotes on those EMDTs. The most expensive unit could be around 3,000 a unit times 13 units, 39,000. But then there's install cost and everything. So roughly, you might apply if you decide to apply. You still have time to do that. You might go 50,000 total. So you're going to need 10% of that. 5,000 held back, along with the medic and the electric tools, to be able to do that. Unless we can get the money out of that account, as we mentioned, number 4401 revenue account, capital fund, that's got 175,000 in it. I don't know, because I know Gene went to the attorney to write that whole thing up, and it was only certain ways you could get money out of that fund. If we can do that, then their problems, or that issue goes away. 'Cause you
So
just
are we
move that money.
getting, so what I'm hearing is we're gonna take this, the percentage from the grant, and you're suggesting it come out of that line. The 10% for these things come out of that line, right? Is that what you're suggesting?
Yes.
And is that for the medic and the extra technical and the MDT?
Yes.
And they're all 10%?
Yes.
Okay.
So if we can get the money out of 175, then they don't have to go looking for any more. You know,
Well, I think it depends on, I mean, 175, we're spending 76,000 on just the payment in January for these new vehicles.
and I'm assuming that's what that 175 was held back for, I don't know. Since I
Well, at
wasn't
the time,
involved.
I don't think it was held back for a tanker, I think, is what I remember him saying, a tanker, tanker and some other stuff that they would think about getting at the time. That's what I remember him
So
saying.
the 76,000 payment you just referenced to, what does that all entail?
That 76 is the two remounted ambulances and the staff car.
The one staff car,
Uh-huh.
with Republic.
That's the loan.
That's the loan,
Uh-huh.
Republic lending, okay.
Right. And it's due January 23rd, every year, for 5 years.
So we have to find the money for those existing things now first. And then the trustees and the fire chiefs and everything have got to talk about, there was talk about an engine or engines. What do you do with the third medic? Do you sell it, send it to Texas? What do you do? But all that also has to be put into this budget too, if you're gonna do any of those. That you promise the voters that you're gonna put paramedics on 24/7 and you're gonna buy engine tankers or tankers. And we're already 1 year into the levy money from a year ago, and we still haven't done any of those. But we made an attempt toward paramedics, but we have not made an attempt toward, we have not ordered any of the engine tankers.
So the refurbishment of the third Fraser is on hold?
It hasn't happened, it's sitting at Station 59. You trustees have to decide if you want to go send it down to Texas, or do you want to just go with 3 medics, the 2 new ones we just got back, plus the brand new one. Now, the brand new one won't be back from, after you buy it, it'll take, what do you say, Chief, a year?
No,
Unless you get a spec.
it'll take around 8 months.
8 months, from the time of order.
What I recommend, the old medic, get rid of it. I can't see spending the money to send down Texas to get it refurbished, because you're gonna be putting in 175,000 into that. And here we bought another medic or going to it for 180. There's no sense having 4.
Is it a brand new?
Yeah, the one we're going, want to buy is, it's gonna be brand new.
So that's a big decision you trustees have to make.
So is that medic drivable? I mean, is it,
That's
you got a ballpark on value? Drivable, usable, sellable, or is it scrap?
Dave Garage told me that the brake job that was done in-house was inadequate and should be redone. Also said the tires that were put on it, the last time it had tires, were not ODOT compliant for an ambulance, emergency service vehicle. I'm not sure who put them on or what company we went with, but Dave Garage said they're not ODOT. They said the thing should not be driven. If you're going to send it to Texas, put it on a flatbed, quote unquote, do not risk someone's life trying to get that thing to Texas.
So as of today, you've got 2 brand new medics and 1 that can't operate.
But Greg, that means don't use it as a medic, the question of what Jim was asking about.
As far as selling it to someone to use it?
I'm sorry?
As far as selling it, was that what you were asking, selling it?
Yeah, that's kind of quite right. Now, he's asking
Well,
what
if
state
you're
is
gonna get
it?
rid of it, what kind of money is gonna come back into the budget selling it? Okay, because we have to make a decision on whether or not to liquidate it.
I'm gonna say 30,000. My experience on selling others.
So, in its current condition, we could still pull 30 grand.
You can't sell it to another EMS service, correct, guys? You have to sell it to like a plumber or a contractor. or
You can
something.
send it, you can sell it to another EMS service, but it's gonna be up to them to repair it.
Okay.
What you're thinking about, Mike, is if it's an AFG grant purchased item, we
Yes.
can't use it, we gotta destroy it, we gotta do whatever, but this was a bought just out of your general fund, so you can sell it to another fire department.
Okay.
Would the grant we got for this new medic cover that? What you're saying is that we got a grant for a medic replacing something, could we get stuck in that one, that we cannot sell it?
I don't know. I don't know if AFG can be used on used equipment.
Did you use, get a written estimate from Dayton Fire Garage?
To repair that? No, because the consensus at the time was going to Texas. So they looked it over, told us what was wrong with it. But they were working on something else at the time to get it even moving. And that's when they said the brake job's horrible and the tires are not even legal. And they said, if this is the one you're sending back to Texas, put it on a truck, do not let someone drive this back. Do not risk their life. So there was no thought at all of ever having them doing anything because it was going to be going to Texas. I mean, basically on what he said, a brake job and new tires.
Do we need to keep it to help our chances on future grants, like what we did? We got that old GMC, I think that was the intent on keeping that one.
It's too new. The year on that medic that's sitting down there is 2007, I believe. So it's not gonna help us on the next bid. But we held on to the old Top Cat that
That's what I'm
sat down the
talking
road
about.
garage just because of its age.
2009.
Now, if we would have held on to the tanker that was here once, the Seagraves, and not sold it, we would have gotten ourselves a brand new tanker for only 10%. When somebody made a decision to sell the Seagraves and get rid of it. So the one that Mr. Mann bought from the Columbus firefighter and brought home to try to refurbish it would have gotten us a brand new engine tanker at roughly $500,000-$600,000, and you paid 60. But that didn't happen, it's gone. So Mickey's looked at everything he could. Chief Wright and I met with Mickey, and he went through everything we were eligible for, and we're down to just the MPTs now. Because we don't have aging equipment per AFG grant. So it's a question, I guess I hear you say, BC and Chief, is do we buy new? Or do we refurbish old, if they let us? And if it's about the same price, I don't know about you trustees, but I'd recommend a brand new one. Instead of even though the refurb's a brand new chassis, and you know, you've seen it, they're beautiful looking boxes that are redone. What makes sense? A brand new box and a medic with a warranty on it, or a refurb unit? And that's gonna have to be a trustee decision.
Have we gotten our hose back from Trotwood yet?
No.
Do we know the condition of it?
No.
Like, what we have to replace?
I've been down there twice, the fire chief has not been there, and we've been working on this grant. No, I haven't been back to see him yet. I'll drag you down there Wednesday.
And for trustees that don't know the whole story, I mean, what little we've been able to put together is former staff loaned your brand new fire hose that were reserved to Trotwood. They didn't have a need for it, they just wanted to play with the new stuff before they got their grant, which they did. And they're getting ready to order their new hose. Well, it's been over there almost a year. That means it's fighting fire, taking years of service out of the hose that you went to the government and wanted. So you always help your neighbor out, but you don't give away all your hose. And we found out that that's sitting over there, and right now it's on all their equipment. So when we get that hose back, it's gonna not be brand new. And that's something that all three of us have been working on to try to be nice to nearby Trotwood, but get it back, because if we get audited by the AFG group and they ask where's the hose and what's your reason for loaning it, we're in trouble. And that's just flat out. And Mickey says they're running a 76%, roughly 76% audit rate since COVID hit. They're actually doing more audits than they've ever done before because they have nothing else to do. So we're trying to get this hose back, Ms. McGuire. So, I guess.
It's still on the radar, it's not off the radar. But we've had so much going on, trying to build the department back up. But we'll get it.
So the question is, on this line item, we gotta have 10% held back regardless of which way you guys decide to go, new or refurb. And if it's about the same, you're saying 180, you gotta encumber 18,000
Right.
for the new medic, or a little more just to save, be safety, maybe 20. And I would recommend that's what you put into your current, your draft budget here now, so it's in there regardless, and then trustees can make a decision at their next meeting what they want to do. Does that sound like a plausible route for that issue? So I guess you're gonna have to find money for those three AFGs. The 10% for all three, or else we don't do an AFG for 2020 for the MDTs. We just scrap it for this year. That's gonna be about 7,000. 5,000, I'm sorry, 5,000. But that's, you guys have to decide what you want to do with your budgets. So since we're on that issue, then let's go on to the 2021. There was plenty of talk by trustees after the levy was passed in 2019 that you're going to buy at least one engine tanker. Is that incorporated in this budget?
Don't sound like it's gonna get in there, they got to get those medics and the education tools, and then pay for the new loan. Doesn't look like it's gonna fit.
And I think that's gonna be our issue here, and the thing I keep bringing up is the trustee, or the levy was passed for paramedics and engines, not extrication tools and refurbing the medics. And it did not include chief vehicles in any of that levy language. So you have to be very careful. Election, people elected the ballot. So you have to show some kind of effort toward buying an engine. And, you've shown efforts toward trying to get paramedics in here, but you're gonna have to put it in the budget. Or else you're gonna have to answer the public and say, well, not this year. Now, if you guys wanna do that, that's your choice as trustees, not this year. But, you gotta just be careful when you go in front of the voters what you want, not what you went and bought because you thought, I'm gonna get it first. So right now, here we are, 2021 budget, and we still don't have any engines ordered. And now it looks like we might not have any money to order them. So.
I guess we can't determine if we're gonna have the money until we know what the cost and what they wanna order. So that's a big issue, you can't determine.
Right.
If you put some in the budget you don't know.
But as well, it's very hard to add midterm.
That's
So
right.
we're right here at the budget, you need to put it in for 21.
Well, but we gotta have some idea what the
Well,
cost are.
The fire department will not have this revenue in the future unless we keep the promise. So,
I don't think they have a problem, because it's continuous levy. It's a continuous levy, so they're gonna always have.
Tracy's right, the future would be the problem.
well, we already have a trust problem with the public, so this isn't going to help.
The second issue that you trustees need to know, if you didn't know, and it was informed to me by Chief, so Chief, if you want to expand, you can. At this point, we only have one active engine that's operating. We have 3 sitting in the stations. The former staff stripped 1 engine, and it's completely no equipment at all and out of service down at 59. We have 2 other Rosenbauers, and I'm told that the pump won't engage on 1 of them. So as of today, unless you guys tell me different, you have 1 engine that can pump a fire.
We have 2 that can pump, but the first out engine is the one we're having pump problems. On the house fire we had last week, it took 4 attempts before we could get the pump engaged, and we had a line laid. It was a kitchen fire.
So you have an immediate problem. Even if you found money in your budget to buy new engines, they won't, what do you think, guys?
Engine?
Engine tank,
Year.
a year. So you have minimum 12 months from today or more,
12
waiting on the brand.
12 to 14 months.
12 to 14 months, so you're looking at 2022 before you get a physical engine if you buy them brand new. So right now, you heard what he said, you only have 1 fully functioning engine and the other one is trouble pumping. You have to take care of that problem immediately before you go buy anything else.
So we sent a Rosenbauer out to South Dakota, and I think we spent about 40 grand doing a pump. Is that an option versus getting new equipment?
I don't know, do you guys know?
That one that went out of town, Rosenbauer did that free. I didn't think we paid anything for that pump.
That's before my times.
But weren't we looking at a 40 grand expense on that?
I wasn't aware of that, but that was before I was knee deep in it. But yeah, Rosenbauer, it was such a bad design, they picked it up and then took it out and refurbed it.
When they bought them 3 engines, they got 3 for the price of 2. Those was about the cheapest things that they could buy.
They're entry level.
And compartments are small. There's really nothing to the truck compared to what we would order now. But when you get a fire, and if somebody's life was endangered in the structure, and then the operator has to work 3 or 4 times in order to get the pump and gear, we've already got a bad name with one department around. Because we utilize them so much on EMS because we're having problems with staffing. I brought several people here when I come. I put the word out and have people in. We still got a couple more people coming, but I hate to use the word, but the trucks are jumping. They're what, 2005?
Yes.
2005, the life expectancy on an engine or a tanker is 20 years. These will never hold out.
But weren't we forced into buying those because we had to get rid of the open cab trucks? Is that why we had to get in a hurry to buy those? Does that make sense?
Yeah, the open cabs are out.
It could have been the reason why you guys did that, I don't know. There's no documentation to say why.
It should have been grandfathered under.
But that's a major problem today. So, you know, we talked about many ways of trying to fix the problem temporarily. And that is maybe buy a used vehicle that will pump and protect the people until you get these new ones ordered. But again, another budget item problem. You know, so that's why it's important that everybody's involved in budget decisions like, or at least talking like we are now, because it's exposing the problems that a lot of people don't account for. They accounted for other things that maybe they wanted in their budget and realized they didn't take care of what is the most important. Put Band-Aid on the sick person and put water on the fire. Then everything else is great if you can buy it. But we're struggling to put the fire out because the apparatus left behind.
And the public, when they call you, they expect you to show up and protect their property, vehicle, whatever it is, but I'm not gonna guarantee nothing.
And that, you know, what's a little angst to me, and I'll tell you, I'll go back to what I said earlier, If we would've held onto that tanker one more year, it sat outside, rusting off, you would've had a brand new one through AFG now. But we've missed the boat.
Water under the bridge.
So we have to fix the problem today. Your firefighters are at harm if that pump doesn't work. Your homeowners are not in good shape if they're trying to get them out of there and save their life and their pump fails. This has been left behind and we are trying to fix the problem. So we need your help as trustees to help us figure out how to do it. You know, what's the condition of the third one that's stripped down?
It just failed its pump test, it needs, what was it, recycling, drafting?
Juice failed the pump test, right?
Yes.
Two have failed?
Juice
Okay.
failed.
One, he said it needs extensive work, the other just needs its, primer worked on.
So can we send them out, just out loud, as an immediate service? Can we send them out one at a time and just get them done?
So you were talking about having a company come in here to avoid the Dayton garage, chief. Who's that other company?
All American Fire out of Washington Courthouse has a service truck. And they would be willing to come in and work on that.
Well, it's a problem that you trustees have. You've got 3 engines, 2 don't pass pump tests, so they're not allowed to really be driven. And we're down to 1.
So, I'll hold that thought. The same guy that put us in this position has now got his hands in our budget and he doesn't work here anymore. I want to hear, how long was he involved in the budget meeting on this? How many hours?
How long was it, Ms. Edwards?
I'm pulling up though.
In 10 hours.
I think it's irrelevant.
And Gene was good. I was there for 5 hours, but Gene was good.
But he doesn't work here anymore.
I think it's irrelevant.
No, you don't.
I mean, it's water under the bridge, we gotta go forward. We can't keep harping on something that's passed and over down. We gotta get this done. We probably should have held the thought.
So the transfer out from last year, is that in the carryover number in F? Or is that sitting in the bank?
I can't understand what you're saying, plus the.
Yeah, I hate that. So, yeah, line 101 transfers out
Okay,
in this year, at number 175.
that's how much we put in the budget for this year
Yes.
into 4401. It's not, 4401 doesn't show in this budget, but that's the capital, what's it called?